Well, good morning. We're going to do a full roast today, answer a few questions that I've gotten over the, 1 year of having the Kaldi Fortis. We're going to roast a total of 500 grams, and that will be 450 Chiapas, Mexico, and that will be then 50 grams of Costa Rican. I will film the whole roast. It'll be a 2-camera setup. One will be on the Artesian software. The other will be panoramic, sort of getting the heat control in the machine and whatnot. One of the questions I've gotten quite a bit, and actually had myself when I start roasting, was when you buy a coffee roaster, you may or may not be able to buy it with a drum option. But if you do, should you have a perforated or a fully enclosed? Caveat is the fully enclosed is not really fully enclosed. It has perforation at the end. In the case of the Fortis, you do have that option. They're pretty close to the price of each other, so more or less the same. But I did not quite know. I did a little bit of research, and then I selected the semi-convective drum. In my case, that is solid stainless excuse me, around the sides, and it is perforated in the end, versus the whole thing being perforated. And I think if you don't have heat control or a ventilation system, a fully perforated drum would make sense to me, because now you have more convectivity running through your roasting chamber, and if you don't have heat to suck that in and out in a faster or slower pace, you're losing out on that aspect. And I think the fully perforated drum would be beneficial to you if that is the case. If you have a ventilation, chaff ventilation air system, then my recommendation is to use a semi-convective, which is solid on the sides, and in the end it has perforated material. Because now, remember, there are two ways you can vary the roast. Heat, you can obviously turn the heat up and or down. The other method is you can increase the flow through your drum or roasting chamber, and when you do that, you're moving more air, which can be a good thing if you need a quick shot of cold air or you need less shot of cold air. So you're now more in control with the convection part, or the other part of the heat entered into the drum. Remember, you roast not just with heat transferred on the beans from hitting the side of the chamber, the barrel. You also roast it by the air fryer efficiency, or phenomenon as I call it, as you have hot air being blasted onto the beans. And that's the part that you can vary if you have a chaff ventilation system as well. So, not sure if that helped you anything, but I thought I'd mention that. So onwards we go with the roast. Here we go. Well, hello there. You are joining us at 190 degrees Celsius. All the temperatures on today's roast is Celsius, so you'd have to convert them yourself. We have here a total of 500 grams, 450 Chiapas, 50 Costa Rican, and we'll get that ready in a hopper. At 192, we'll go ahead and start this one. We're currently at a heat setting of 8, and we are at an airflow of 40. Those are just numbers. I wouldn't pay too much attention to that. Next thing here is in another 5 degrees Celsius. We'll drop the beans. (198 degrees for bean temperatures). We'll drop the beans, lower the heat to 3. we'll do so 2 minutes. We'll call that good enough. We're dropping. Heat goes down to 3. And we're now going. Off to the races. You can see the rapid temperature fall. 129 degrees. Today's roast, we should see the ratios between the 3 different profiles. 50, 30, and 20 is my goal. We'll probably see 45, 25, and 20. But we'll see what we got. Down to 91 degrees, it was still dropping. $85. Beans are still dropping, but they're starting to shallow out now a wee bit. Turning point should be just around the corner. There it is at 1:16. And we're now rising. And I forgot to mark the heat down to 3. When you film and do all this stuff here, it can get a little bit hectic here. 15 seconds, we'll turn the heat back up. And here we go. Heat goes to 10. And you can see as soon as I did that, the chamber temperature or environment is just rising pretty fast. Still green in there, but it's getting less. Couple things to mention here. I have other videos about that, but my chaff ventilation system goes up through a hop filter made for beer, works really great, stainless, into a, what do we call this, a pellet stove fan for your house, and then out through a 3-inch to the outside of the house. Speed control is maintained with a generic AC speed control device, and it just works like a charm. Not quite, we're getting close. It estimates drying to be at 5 minutes and 2 seconds. I'd say that's pretty close. We still have some green ones floating around in there. Still a few, not many. We are almost there. All right, we'll call it dry end. Heat goes to 9. Now it's at 5 minutes and 24 seconds. I probably went 8 seconds over just to take the picture. I expect the first crack happen around 192 to about 196. So this machine says first crack at 920. That usually gets pushed a little bit. In my case, I find that if it starts at dry end, if Artisan says 930, I'm going to push that about 30 to 40 seconds. So 10 to about 10, 15, 10, 20. And then we'll rock that for a couple of minutes, and then we'll call it the end of the roast. Getting a nice browning on it. Love the smell. You can see now Artisan says 950, 948. That's going to be pretty close. A few seconds more, I think, are very good. It still hangs around 944, maybe this time. Another thing you'll see is as your ambient temperature, it's winter here in Colorado. Well, not winter, but it's getting close. It's windy and a little cooler, so everything is happening. It's just a little bit slower due to the outside temperature in the garage. My doors are not insulated. I'm going to say it's probably 55, 52 inside here today, right now. $189, so in about 8 degrees, 10 degrees, we should have our first crack. There's a couple of them trying. There it is, the first one to count. Usually counting 3, 2, and 3. We'll call that first crack. Heat goes to 8. And here's first crack. You can also see first crack, all the steam that's, or moisture rather, that's released. You can see how the temperatures in here gets inverted. It's also your evidence when they start popping in there, you can see it. So everything kind of gets wonky because you're adding a bunch of moisture that's escaping the bean. That will be a bit of a cooling effect in your chamber. Coming up on 11 minutes. And they're still popping pretty good. Slowing down a bit. However, they're still popping. We'll call that first crack. There might be a couple of straddlers here, but we'll call that first crack end. And then we'll get ready to dump the beans. We're about there. Alright, heat's coming off. And here we go. Had a couple go outside. And then we'll just slowly turn it around. This thing is actually amazing. This little bean chiller. Don't need to stir it constantly, but it helps out tremendously. And there you can see we're a little bit short here and a little bit high here. So end goal is to move the 5% extra here over to this and have 50, 30, and 20. But pretty solid roast. This is my standard roast. We'll go ahead and reset this. We'll save it. And done. are already cooled down. Quite amazing. I mean, this thing is fantastic. Really. So there you have it. All the way from start to finish. I'll give you a